I want to introduce you to somebody that's a serious guy in the watch business, and I'm going to explain how serious he is by asking him a simple question, right? This is Roman. He's the CEO of Luxury Bazaar, and
Call me the founder.
The founder.
Yes.
I like to say I'm the founder as well, right?
Yes.
Of TraxNYC. So the question is this: over the course of your career, 19 years, what is the total revenue you've had in watches? Would you estimate, if you have that in your head, that figure?
I can tell you the last 10 years for sure. In
Okay,
the last
give me the
10
10.
years, we're probably looking at a little bit, around $1 billion.
$1 billion of watches moved, okay? So you know who's the big boy, right? We're in his studio. He's got 1 million watches moving around. We just grabbed the case, so you can take a look at the case, and we're gonna ask him some questions. Because, you know, if you think I know something about watches, I don't. In all reality, this is the guy that you want to know what's going on with prices, how to get deals, what to buy, what not to buy. I don't even know where to begin the story, but I'm going to go with the watch that catches my eye, right? Tell me a little bit about this Rolex, Roman, since you're $1 billion in, you should know something
If you
about
flip
this.
it my way, I'll tell you what it is. Here we go.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I try to go out and do, listen, I have my fair share of Submariners, I have my fair share of Skydwellers, all the popular stuff that's out, the Daytonas and things like that. But oftentimes, my eye will catch a piece that no one else has, such as this carousel dial Day, right?
Right.
It's a baguette bezel carousel dial. They only made a few of these, and not that it's a limited edition. And anybody tells you they know how many of each Rolex are made, they're lying to you. Only Rolex knows. They don't share that information.
Oh, really?
So
They don't number anything.
But if you walk up and down 47th Street or any other Diamond District, or even go online to see who
I haven't
physically
seen
has this
this.
in stock, you won't see something like this. This is part of those watches that's not going to fly out the window, right? It's an expensive watch. It's a $90,000 Rolex. But at the same token, it's not something that somebody will ever find out anywhere else. And I try to go for stuff like that.
And you have nothing aftermarket, right? You don't.
I don't do aftermarket. I shouldn't say that. I do have requests once in a while,
Right.
and if I do that, I'll reach out to like a Trax NYC and say, hey, the guy wants this done, you know. And I try not to mix the two. I feel like it's not a healthy.
I just want people to see how Rolex does their bezel. Now this is a baguette cut, right? It's
Correct.
not an emerald cut because emeralds have cut corners.
Right.
So I want people to see how Rolex does it, and indeed I also want to see how Rolex does it myself. Fantastic timepiece. Now how does one, other than going to luxurybazaar.com or having the luck to have your phone number to call you up, how does one get their hands on a timepiece like this? And is this on luxurybazaar.com?
It is. It's online.
Okay. All right.
Everything we have in the office is live. So,
Okay.
and my inventory system, as it turns over, if you were to buy this right now and I scanned it out, it'd be off.
So without giving too many details or whatever details you don't want to include, how did you get your hands on a watch like this?
I am one of the main buyers here. Still am 20 years later. I have a head buyer here, Adrian, you've met him.
Right.
And Adrian is my guy that goes out there and scouges the world for pieces. Buying from the public, buying from the dealers, trade-ins is a big part of it, and obviously trade shows.
So you have the right person who got their hands on the watch, either from Rolex or whichever way, and they say, hey, Roman or who was it?
Adrian.
Adrian, you know, we have this timepiece, do you want it?
Yeah, it's that simple.
And does he make the choice on his own, or with a timepiece like this, does he reach out to you?
Haven't been in the business for 20 years. Me and you have been running around the office. I've been showing you the office and things like that. In the last hour that you've been here, I probably have over 50 offers on my phone alone.
Right.
We
You don't
also-
got the time for a second.
We also have a system in place for clients outside that literally go onto our website and they offer up their pieces. We get about 30 to 40 requests a day of people wanting to sell their stuff. And it's just relationships. Listen, at the end of the day, you know, if you need something for a client, you'll pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, do you have it, right? Or if you have something that's not your cup of tea, hey, Roman, I just got offered this, do you want to buy it?
But did Adrian make the call on this?
No, somebody offered that to us.
Somebody offered, but did he make the choice of buying it in spending
What
Luxury Bazaar's
what
money?
we do is obviously we have a particular budget. You know, budget on buying watches can get out of hand quickly. The joke is that we're millionaires Monday morning, by afternoon we're broke. Right?
I know the feeling.
Because you know somebody calls in and they want to sell you a few of these, you just spend $1 million, right?
Yeah.
With that said, I like to exercise what's called a 4-eye principle. You know, and 4-eye meaning not somebody wearing glasses, but 4-eye. Let's say Adrian goes out and makes a purchase up to a certain level. Obviously, he doesn't have to. Stuff we buy day in and day out, like subs and Yachtmasters. There's a market price. We know what the buy is. We know what the sell is. But when it comes to stuff that's a little bit more expensive, that's when he'll say, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying this. What's your thought?" I say, "I think it's worth paying this." He said, "Well, I think it's worth paying this," and that's how we ensure that mistakes don't happen. just the 4i principle.
Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna ask I'm gonna put myself to the test here. I'll let everybody take a look at this tray from your safe, I assume, right? And here's the thing. I'm gonna sit here and try to pick the top 3 most desirable watches aside from this one.
I'll give you a hint. That's not desirable.
That's not desirable.
It's rare, but it's not desirable.
Well, how could you say this beautiful watch? And this would be like any lady's watch if she was wearing this.
It could be a men's, it could be a ladies.
Right, but the dial is like for ladies would be incredible. How could you say that's not desirable?
Because I'll tell you, because
I already failed the test.
No, you didn't fail the test. What I'm saying is because of its price point. Not everybody's out there ready to drop $100,000 on a Rolex.
Okay, so desirable to you means what? That it's illiquid?
Desirable to me means what I sell most of, and I will sell 50 of these before I sell one of these. If that makes sense.
Okay, so let's go. Let me rephrase that. The most expensive watches here, as far as the, I know this is nothing close.
Which is the most expensive watch in this case? There's your test.
I'm going to try to go for, aside from this one, unless I'm missing something here, I would say it's this Daytona right here. No?
I will tell you this.
Or is it this one?
This is not the most expensive watch in this case.
Oh my God. Well, hold on. Okay, you're going to tell me this one?
This is the most expensive watch because it happened to be a vintage piece that snuck in there, a vintage Daytona with a Conjar dial from Oman.
Well, this is why we ask these questions, and you know what I'm saying? I'm an honest guy. If I don't know something, I'm almost like a tourist.
I'm the same way. If I don't know something, I'll ask. 20 years later, I'm not ashamed to not know something about a watch. I mean, I know a thing or two, but at the end of the day, I'm never ashamed. So that's $250,000.
Right, $250,000.
For those that know.
And box paper for this.
I wish I did. It'd be more.
It'd be more, right? Yeah. $500,000 maybe even.
If it had original box of papers, it'd probably add another $30,000 to $40,000 in value.
30, 40. Oh, that's it? 30 to 40,000 value? Well, listen, this is why we ask Roman questions here, because we gotta learn. And there's something special about this dial. It's got the Conjar?
The Conjar. The Conjar. Made for the Sultanate of Oman.
Sultan of who?
Oman.
All right, so this is, I guess in the Middle East they love these watches, or who
Actually, you'd be surprised that it's not necessarily the Middle East. It's any vintage Rolex collector. Again, with Rolex making hundreds of thousands of watches over the years, millions of watches. There's no limited editions in Rolex, right? There was never a limited edition made, right? So what the collectors look for, they look for those that they made the least amount of. And the Sultan of Oman only ordered so many of these. So at the time they were making these, they made 100,000 for the world and only maybe 20 for him.
So only collectors, you know what I'm saying? I would be thinking that, some sheik somewhere out there would be sitting there, I need this watch from luxury.
It's possible, because you find collectors in any way, shape, or form. It could be a doctor, it could be a dentist, it could be a sheikh, it could be a sultan, it can be a car racer. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever floats someone's boat.
What year is this around?
This is 1971, I believe. I don't remember exactly.
I was about to say in the 1970s, but I've been wrong so many times.
No, you're right, actually.
All right. And then we're going to go on to, I don't know. Let's see here. I mean, everything else is, you don't have anything that's crazy, right? You don't have any tricksters.
So they brought me a random trade, but
these Rolex dials right here look pretty cool to me.
So this is, remember what you did with the day dates when I came to visit you, how you were talking about there's value behind stuff. And lately I've been buying up the old Yachtmasters. Now the Yachtmaster ones were never a super popular model, right? They were sort of like the least buy, especially the steel part of it.
Right.
But what I recognize the beauty in these dials, specifically the Ruby MOP. So it comes Ruby MOP, it comes Sapphire and Diamond MOP, mother of pearl, and it also comes with like a gold dial, and it also comes with the Tahitian black mother of pearl regular stick dial.
Okay.
When I saw these, it was actually Eric from Miami. Watch Eric? That showed me one of his in his roll, and I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. What can you get out there today and buy in old gold from a Rolex, 30 grand and under? There's really not much out there because prices are insane. And I felt like this is just the same of a value as what you show with the old presidents.
And I'm about to touch on that. The Ruby dial, is it that more desirable one?
These are the one that they made the least of. It is the more desirable one. It's the most expensive dial in the catalog as well, or was when they made them.
Right.
Followed by the Sapphire Diamond dial, and then followed by the black mother of pearl stick, which I don't think I have here, maybe in another box.
Right. And how much is it with the Ruby dial like this?
So something like that one happens to not have box and paper. It's pre-owned. This is around 30 grand. where this is in the mid to high 20s.
Right, so this is a watch that's kind of a sleeper watch because...
Love that you said that, because that's what I always say, sleepers.
Right, I mean, you know, basically the way I look at it is maybe in the early 2000s or whatever, in the 90s, you know, they had other gold Rolexes that were desirable and everybody kind of slept over this.
They slept on the model itself. The Yachtmaster model has been slept on for a long time. So even the older Yachtmasters now, the stainless steel versions, right? Even those are kind of being slept on, but they've creeped up 30 to 40%, much like the Day-Days.
That's what I'm about to say. I think these are the watches that are going to go for a ride when people realize, because, you know, I don't know the value. I'm usually dealing with the presidentials and things like that, or the Day-Dates, right? I don't want to sit here and...
Call them whatever you want.
Right? So the Prezzies.
The Prezzies, I like that.
I'm used to the Prezzies and things like that, but... and you know, you're gonna call me crazy, but some of my clients might want me to even take off this bezel, which, you know, you could pop this off, right? Or it wouldn't be the best thing to do, but and you'd want to keep the original bezel. Don't let wherever you buy it. I wouldn't keep it, but some tricksters in the diamond district, they might want to pop off this bezel, put it in their pocket, give you a diamond one. But you want to.
In fact, some of those tricksters in 47 Street will make you do that. Same with dials, and I always tell my clients, like, if you're gonna get watch customized, keep the original parts.
Right, unless you show them your claws, then you have to make sure you get this. But if you put a bezel on this watch, it would transform the look completely. And for $30,000, it is a incredible timepiece. It's bigger than the Day-Date. Right, as a size comparison.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We're going to show you this exquisite piece, and you can make this happen, and this is going to be something that when everyone else wakes up to it, you actually turn a profit wearing
You're
this
ahead
thing.
of the game.
Right?
I like sleeper watches, and I brought some sleeper watches in here, believe it or not. I also brought a couple of things to show you just how crazy the market is.
Let's look at
And
it.
also wanted to show you the sky is the limit, so to speak. So it's no secret that the market has gone insane since COVID. I made a video in the beginning of COVID and I said COVID is not going to do anything in this market, and I got caught a lot of heat. Everybody saying you're downplaying this crazy disease. I'm like, I'm not downplaying the disease. I'm telling you that the market will not be affected. This is not the crisis '08 that both me and you went through. This is something completely different. Lo and behold, supply got jammed, prices went through the roof.
Before we go, did the prices, the price I know on the jewelry and the gold went up, but did it go up on the watches after '08?
A year after.
But it crashed?
It crashed. It crashed big time. It crashed to the tune of 50% on some models. The hotter the watch was, the more of a crash it was. It took a while to recuperate, and some of those models still have not recuperated.
Nowadays, nothing crashes because the Fed doesn't let it crash, right? You know what I'm saying?
But we have this little thing called inflation we have to worry about, right? Because this is what happens. But for now, the prices are through the roof due to limited supply and a much higher demand. Everybody's doing well in whatever it is that they do, be it the stock market, crypto, whatever else, and people want to put money into what we call passion assets, right? I don't call these investments, I call them passion assets. It's a good place to park money where you know at least your money is safe plus minus 20%, right? Not an investment, but a safe place to park money. I'm not telling you to spend your last paycheck on a Rolex, but you can park some money in high-end watches and jewelry and feel, sleep well at night.
Passion assets. This is going to be trademarked by Luxury Bazaar. Passion asset. All right. I love this blue dial as well. Before we continue on to sleepers and things like that, I love this piece. What's the story with this one right here?
So again, this is a value watch. If you look at a current, this is the oldest American. This is a non-ceramic bezel. I believe this piece is from like early 2000s. I don't remember the exact serial.
What is that bezel made out of? Like enamel?
So this is their regular. This is their regular bezel insert, right? So with that said, if you look at the current version of a watch like this, you're upwards of $40,000 on the ceramic version of this, which seemingly looks the same, right? If you go back to the previous version, now you're buying a gold Rolex again sub $30,000. Again, no longer made a sleeper. In the likes of this guy, same goes with the two-tone version of it. Again, older. Current two-tone version, high teens.
And this I've never seen before.
So this is another sleeper. This is what we call the 30 dial, right? You have the sapphire. You kind of have the same thing going on, except not mother of pearl like with the Yachtmaster. So you have a 30 dial, old school Rolex, just the same. Again, value is there. Low teens. This is around very low teens versus a new one being in the mid to high teens, and this one being in the high 30s.
And one thing, for the amateurs that want to learn a little something, the holes on the side, right? Like the holes they get rid of at some point of time, Rolex.
Exactly. It actually just shows you how old the particular watch is.
Right.
Here's another 30 dial. You might want to get a close-up. There were variations of these. I'm buying up as many as I can of these because I think these are also sleepers and future collectibles due to the dials. Again, dials on Rolex mean everything. Certain dials will make the price of the watch go up. A comparable watch such as this, minus the kind jar dial, is $200,000 less, and that's what makes the difference.
Surdy dial. Can you explain exactly what that means?
It's just a name for the dial, and they call them Surdy dials due to the configuration of the diamonds and the sapphires, and like nicknames, like we have Batman and Pepsi and Starbucks and all that stuff that they have today. Right. Nicknames are given for Rolexes the minute they come out of the gate.
What's next? What else do you have?
Next, I just wanted to quickly tell you guys about how insane today's market is and how people are out there doing exactly what I've always been preaching, and that's buying what you like first and foremost, right? So I'm wearing a 15202, right? A piece that was made. So 1972, Royal Oak is born. Gerald Genta creates the Royal Oak, the first true luxury sports watch. That was the gimmick back then. That was the advertisement. A watch that at the time cost about $2,200, which in 1972 was a lot of money for a stainless steel watch.
And he was a genius because this design.
He was a genius in many ways. It wasn't just this design. It was obviously the Nautilus along many other designs.
He did the Nautilus as well?
In 1973. So for the anniversary, for the 40th anniversary of the Royal Oak, they came out with what's called the Model 15202, which houses the same exact movement as the original 5402 from 1972. With that said, this watch that pre-COVID, the market on the watch was about $38,000, which is, again, over its retail value. Today, the market price on a pre-owned like this, box and papers, is $85,000. And just to put that in comparison, I brought a platinum tourbillon offshore, same brand, Audemars Piguet. Difference between an offshore and the Royal Oak, offshore is bigger. 1992, they made the offshore model as the anniversary to this, or to the original Royal Oak from 72. Right. They did it with an offshore, which is just a bigger case size, same look and feel. Now this is a very complicated watch. This is a tourbillon chronograph, right? Much more complex than the time-only watch that I'm wearing.
Time only is when it just has...
Well, this has a date date also. So time only, and then you have the date. Okay. Time only is just time, you're right. With that said, here's a watch that retails for $303,000. Current market price is $150,000. Here's a watch that retails for around $30,000. Current market price is $85,000 used. That just goes to show how crazy the market is. And then you get into, of course, everybody's favorite topic, Richard Mills, right?
Who's everybody?
Everybody and their mother, whether they can afford them or not afford them, will talk about the fact, oh my God, these crazy Richard Mills and the prices that they fetch and so on and so forth. This is a watch when I started out with Richard Mills. In gold, a watch like this I've sold for $65,000. Today, you'd be hard pressed to find this watch for less than $275,000.
So it started out with 65 and it appreciated.
It started like any other brand. Like when you needed to get a watch, we would call a dealer, get a discount, whether it's 20, 30, 40, or 50% off. We would order the watch and sell it to a client, make our 5-10% and call it a day. Today, these watches have gone through the roof tremendously due to genius marketing, due to the limitation of how many they made.
Genius marketing is
and again, holding back product, supply and demand. Reason I brought this particular Richard Mills, I have a few others, but this was a limited edition. This is one of the very first few limited editions that they made, which was made for the Le Mans race. The green inside differentiated from the regular RM11 Rose Gold TI. And this is another sleeper. We're at a point where the brand has been around so long, it's still a fairly new brand in comparison to some of the big boys that have been around for 150 years or 200 years, right? But this is the one sleeper within that brand. I start to look back for some of the older pieces that were limited, in fact, and the hype is the Bubba Watsons, the plastic watches as they call them, right? All the stuff you see for $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, 3 times their retail value. But you always want to look back.
But they're not actual plastic, they're supposed to be crystal.
It's NTPT.
What is that?
So NTPT is a company called North Thin Ply Technologies, right? So it's a special carbon that they made. Are they super special from anybody else? No, there's plenty of companies out there that make plastics in the same manner for various uses, be it military, aviation, or whatever it might be. But with that said, these guys literally have them making cases for them and only them, and they found a good shtick, as we say, and they've been running with it. But any brand, regardless of price point, whether you're going to get into a $30 Rolex such as this, which I feel is a sleeper, low teens, or you want to spend up to $300 grand and get something like this, there's still value out there if you go backwards, and this is what I've always said.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. As far as the quality of the Audemars movements and their complications versus Richard.
Well, if you consider that you had the same people involved in both companies, I'm going to say they're both great.
Oh, well,
if you want to ask me who I feel is the finest watchmaker out on the market today, I would probably have to go to no, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. AP is my favorite brand. I'm super biased, and I would fight tooth and nail over any AP and say it's the best company out there. Right. But if you want to talk about quality of watchmaking in the current environment, right? No. In the modern, highly produced, I say 2,000 pieces plus a year, I would have to go with Lang & Son, but prior to that, I would go with an independent called Grubel Forze.
Grubel Forze.
Extremely expensive. When I was in New York the one time, I was wearing a blue watch. Do you remember? That was a Grubel Forze. Again, average ticket price retail 500,000. They only make as many watches as watchmakers have because every single watchmaker makes every single watch by hand, piece by piece.
And those watches are for the big boys that know what's going on, the ones that have been 17 years, 10 years, 20 years.
It's not your first watch.
$1 billion in revenue. That's when you go for those types of brands. When you're walking out for the first time and you want to get something, it's going to be the starter Rollies or whatever it is, and then you move on to the Audemars, right? But then you go to Patek Philippe.
So I will give credit to Audemars for one simple reason. First of all, it's one of the very few independently owned companies still. They're not part of a group. They're on their own, right? They're
still a family.
They're still a family business, right? And Audemars Piguet, unlike many other big boys, Patek, Vacheron Constantin. Vacheron Constantin is the longest running company continuously, right? Then you have these brands that pop up. They've been around since 1795, but not continuously. They just popped up 20 years ago, got the name rights, and started making watches. Audemars Piguet, unlike many other brands, did not start with a time-only watch. Most watches started with older companies, pocket watches, time-only watches, then moved on to complicated
things. Is there something in there?
Oh yeah, there's something in there. So Audemars Piguet started with making complicated movements for the likes of Tiffany & Company. When they were making pocket watches back then, obviously, they were the ones that those were the guys they went to make them the complicated movements, your calendars, and all those, the perpetual calendars, all those complicated things. This is where AP got their start, not where most companies got their start from making a watch that just shows the time, which is why...
Go ahead, it's all right.
Scared the shit out of me.
It wasn't a watch. That's the most important
that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
So that's why, till this day, you get Audemars Piguet that make things like this. This is their grand complication watch, right? I happen to have a very special one. This one is piece unique. It's one of one. It was made for Prince Albert, and it was made to benefit his water foundation. They made it in stainless steel and rose gold. This is the type of stuff that Audemars Piguet was making in the very beginning to put into complicated pocket watches.
I remember.
Perpetual calendar, minute repeater, split-second chronograph. Two of the most complicated things that can be made in the watch, which is a split-second, well, three, I should say. Perpetual calendar, split-second chronograph.
Can we hear that, the minute repeater?
Absolutely.
One more time?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set this time so it chimes longer. Hold on.
So the minute repeater, just explain exactly for the people who don't know.
So on demand, by depressing this lever right here, or rather pushing it up, what it will do is on demand will chime out the hours, the quarter hours, and the minutes, basically telling you audibly what time it is.
Okay, let's hear it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let me just get this to it.
Grand complication and the ticket on this
so
one.
you might want to, your iPhone will hear this. So ready?
We'll put it next to you, Mike. Can I grab it for a second? Yeah, so people can hear it. What is this tin 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 tin? What does that sound? That's the quarters or the...
So yeah, first
tell me how to listen to it, yeah.
So, well, it's probably stopped at this point, but
sure.
Basically it's going to chime out 11 first dings. They're going to sound the same. Then it's going to change the chime to a different, and it's going to go 3 times quarter hours, because right now it's showing 11. I set it to 11:52, and then it's going to chime 7 times for the minutes. So that will tell you, the first chime will tell you how many hours it is, the second chime how many quarter hours, and then the last chime will tell you the actual minutes.
And this was initially, was this for like the vision impaired or something like that?
No,
or is it
this was, you have to understand something, going back to as far as we can go back, we're talking about pocket watches, right?
Right, 18 something?
No, we're going back a little bit further. So when you set up that minute repeater in your pocket watch, it was a way. It was modeled after grandfather clocks, about the tower clocks and all those things. How did people around town know what time it is? Nobody had a clock hanging in their houses. They didn't have electricity, right? So it's like, oh, what time is it? And people have always been used to audibly listening to what time it is, and it just translated into a much smaller package.
There you go. Well, this is the information you get when you sell $1 billion worth of watches.
So this, market price, we have this listed for $750,000 right now.
Right. And you're not going to have a hard time seeing it go. Why don't you just...
I have, what's funny? It's funny you asked that. There's so many times that I fall in love with something that comes across my desk, and I feel like I always have a hard time letting things go.
This is a piece to keep. I mean, what do you want to sell? What do you want to flip this?
Remember what I always say, these things are not investments, right? They're expensive toys first and foremost, and in a business model we're in, you buy diamonds, colored stones by thousands of carats.
Right.
Now compare market price on loose diamonds today versus a year ago. But I bet you if you go back to where diamonds were much lower, and you held them from that time till today,
You're not
versus
gonna
how many
make more
times?
money, no.
Exactly. You're going to make a lot more money if you keep the wheel turning, right?
Right.
We're not in the whole business. We're in the sell business.
You keep the wheel turning, no problem. But you know that's a piece that.
So since we're talking about oldies but goodies, here's another upcomer today, and that is, believe it or not, Roger Dubuis. And people are going to say, Roger Dubuis, I thought that didn't have good resale value and so on and so forth. So this is a sleeper that I recognized a while ago. This is pre-Richmond Group, before they bought him. Roger Dubuis was always a great watchmaker. They've always made wonderful watches. And this is a watch that they made roughly around 20 of. Very complicated watch. It's a retrograde perpetual calendar. By retrograde, see how you sort of have these half circles in the middle? That's what makes it called a retrograde. This is a perpetual calendar and a chronograph all in one. This was piece number 15 out of, I think, 20. It's not a limited edition. They went to limited edition after this and started making everything in an edition of 28.
Right.
And it just goes to show that there are certain pieces out there, if you can quickly recognize them. This is a watch that traded, back when me and you started, you could probably pick this watch up around $15,000 to $20,000.
My brother, you got an artificial intelligence in your head with all the info, so it's going to be very difficult to keep up.
So, you know, this watch is a watch that went from 15,000 to today, you can ask 100,000 for it because you don't have anybody else out there with it.
All the other big boys, they know, right? Because a guy like me, you know what I'm saying, you tell me, hey, would you like this watch for $500? I'll be like,
How many diamonds does it have in it? So I'll show you one more Rolex, which I feel is special.
Yeah, this is what we.
So you talked about date dates, right?
Right.
Last time I was at your spot, you showed all these date dates and you saw real value. Well, there's a lot more value to these older date dates than just the fact that it's a nice gold watch from the best name in the business, the #1 name in the business, which is Rolex. But there's levels to this shit, as they say, right? So this is a good old date date from 1989, right?
With all the fixing, box papers, everything.
This is what we call NOS, new old stock, right? This thing has got the original sticker in the back. It even still has the sticker on the bracelet.
NOS, new old stock. That's
There
an
you
important term for the beginners out there.
So with this said, seemingly again nothing special until you see that little Kanjar logo on the dial. Again, made for the Sultanate of Oman in 1889. Somebody literally either got this watch as a gift or bought it and stuck it in the back of the safe for 30 years. It's been sitting there ever since. So value of a watch like this, if you take away the Kanjar dial, and let's let it be NOS, and the minute you take away the Kanjar dial, this is a watch that's sub 20,000. The minute you see a Kanjar dial on this, the condition, the box, and the papers, and everything else that this thing comes with, now all of a sudden the watch is shooting up to a value of 70,000, simply because not only that there were not a lot of Kanjar logos made out there, there was also there's not a whole lot of NOS watches left like this.
Let me
and to
ask
collectors, it's, you know,
Let me ask you, if there's somebody out there with, you know, a watch in the back of their safe and they want to liquidate it, would they be able to hit you up or hit up your staff?
This is what we do all day, every day. I've gone as far as buy single watches one at a time, and we go. I mean, I have guys that I've dealt with that put a $5, $6, $10 million collection in front of me. So it's sky's the limit, as you say.
Right.
You know, oftentimes I'll get out there sometimes and be like, oh my God, this guy wants to sell a $3 million collection. I can't exactly write a check for $3 million this very Monday. So, you know, we start to scramble like everybody else does.
Don't hit me with the scramble. You wait 3 days, offload something, and then your bank
and that's what I
account's
mean by
replenished.
scrambling. Listen, everything what we have is liquid, and for us, it's not. It doesn't make any sense for us to have money in the bank in a business, right? Personal bank accounts is different, but business accounts, it makes no sense to hold cash simply because if we're holding cash, we're not making money.
That's right.
If we're
that's
holding
what I
merchandise,
explained.
we're making
People
money.
don't understand. That's a tough one for them to get. Anything in that box, or is this box?
So this is another AP.
to round it out. They
Again,
learn
something
too much.
something different.
You got to watch this video 2-3 times, and you can put on the quarter of the speed when he talks, so you can understand.
So Star Wheel, right, was another weird little AP watch that you used to be able to pick up for about $10,000 to $15,000 until now, where they started fetching good results in auction, right?
Yeah, this is.
This is something.
Right here, bro.
This is something that most would look at and say, "What is this weird thing? I don't even know what the hell this is." The Star Wheel movement was actually inspired by a minister that wanted to know what time it is while laying in bed by looking at the tower out of his window. Except he couldn't see the time really well, so he put these 3 glass discs in front of his window that would move and that would allow him to see the time better as he would wake up out of his bed. A little bit of history behind you, but overall, again, I go for, not only do I go for stuff that's rare and not many made, I go for condition. This is another NOS watch with all the bells and whistles and the original
This is an
manuals.
incredible timepiece. I really like this piece, to be honest. You know, my uncle has a watch like this. I think it's the same case. They used this case before?
Yeah, Yeah.
Right, this is a popular case, but obviously not this dial. An incredible timepiece. This is a real classy on a different level, right?
Not for everyone.
You could go like a Trax watch, or you could go this. There's two different realities. This is a watch I made myself. It's not the best watch to wear today, but you know what I'm saying?
So what? It doesn't matter. It's your watch.
Yeah.
How many guys you know that make their own watches?
I guess not
I
a
don't.
lot. Yeah, I guess not a lot.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. So, listen, Roman, you schooled us. You put us on. You practically did charity over here, but we appreciate you, bro. And this is it. And you're about to watch a conversation about entrepreneurship between me and him. But I appreciate you guys learning from me and Roman over here. Mostly Roman, I would say.
Hey, listen.
And listen, man,
I said it to you
nothing but thank
before.
you.
You know, educating your consumer should be everyone's number one priority. I don't care if you're selling watches. I don't care if you're selling jewelry or whatever it is you may be selling. And that's what's made me successful in the last 20 years. And this is what made you successful. I follow you. I watch you. I watch your videos. I watch your shorts. I watch your long videos. And I see that you do a lot of the same thing, except it's a bit of a different ball game. That's
this
all.
is the difference. He has rare Audemars, and I have Schmoopy the squirrel.
Schmoopy the squirrel is a star in this office. He walked in there this morning, and all of my videographers said, Schmoopy.
Yeah, all right. Fantastic, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it as well.
You did this over the course of.
Why don't you do an intro then?
I'll put this in later, just
Okay,
if
that's fine.
just extra
That's fine.
footage.
That's fine.
You did this. You've been running this business starting from eBay over the course of almost 20 years.
Going on 19 years.
Going on 19 years, right? So you got to this point. It's a fucking amazing point. American dream. Even a guy like me, who started his own business, did this and that. And I'm looking around. I'm like, wow. And I know the feeling because some people come in my office, they feel that way. And
I mean, I was wowed by your operation. I was super impressed when I was there.
I appreciate that, and thank you for that very much. But I see the parallel in a lot of ways between the both of us with the starting on the eBay and so on and so forth. But now that you're at this point, I mean, I have my vision of what I want to do for the future and how I really want to make the most of this foundation that I built. What is it on your end? You know, you're doing the show. What do you envision for your future?
So here's, I mean, the vision for the future, doing the show and doing great market, doing YouTube, that's part of the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's moving with times and keeping up with the times
Right.
and not being left behind by everybody else and a lot of the newcomers. Because, you know, a lot of people discount the newcomers that have been in the business. I've been in business 15 years. What are these kids going to do? Well, there's a lot of kids out there that are taking over, the old school guys. Just like me and you
Right.
did the same thing to the old heads on 47th Street
Right.
that thought they were the big badasses, not realizing that it's going to be the internet kids.
Right.
So my whole thing is that people always often ask me, do I want to sell? The answer is yes and no. And the reason for that is because I want to create a brand. I'll take those.
Sure.
I want to create a brand where I have the opportunity or the option to either sell out for a big amount of money or continue running that brand that's a well-oiled machine and continue making money over and over and over. Right?
Right. Well, you're at a point where, I mean, you know.
You, by the way, sorry to interrupt. You, by the way, did a much better job than me when it comes to that because right now my brand is very heavily dependent on me and my business partner. Where with you created an operation where the TraxNYC brand can operate without you.
Yeah.
You can walk away, and it's a solid unit. If I walk away today, this business will suffer. You got it to a point where you can actually walk away and the brand is there. Right?
Well, you're taking the pressure, and I guess you handle the pressure of the business. Like, it's all on you. I wouldn't be able to do that. I like to delegate because by nature, in all honesty, I'm a lazy person. You know what I'm saying? I hustle because I need to hustle because there's no other option. I have two things. I'm lazy and I like luxury. And I have no money when I started.
That's a fucked up combination.
So you got to figure something out there. You got to find the happy fucking medium. And I found it I did a little bit of the work, monetize it. I rather pay and so I could take a deep breath, and you know I pay well to the people that perform, and then I figure out what's next. And the media is the number one thing because this is just like eBay was, like YouTube, and particularly YouTube is like eBay was in 04, 05, 06.
100%.
It's the wild, wild west.
100%.
You claim out your territory while you have the chance, and if you don't do that, you're going to regret it later, like some of the old heads, you know?
You have a lot of guys out there that have had a huge e-commerce presence, and what they're not realizing is myself and 10 other guys that started selling watches on the internet, you know, post-TV, when we started opening up the websites, myself, Prestige Time, Essential Watches, a lot of guys out there that are looking at this YouTube stuff or this social media stuff and saying, I don't need that, I have a well-versed website. What they're not realizing is you now going up against these platforms that have so much money for marketing, your Chrono 24s, your Real Reels, your Rule of Laws, all these big platforms out there that are taking a huge chunk out of that market, and there's just no way. Not only can you not compete with them, it wouldn't financially make sense because these people come in, they get an influx of millions and millions, of hundreds of millions of dollars to put towards marketing. They're not putting a dime into inventory because guys like us consign to them.
Right.
And you have to realize at some point that e-commerce is just not going to
Hey,
be
listen,
enough.
I'm happy that people are shy to join the party. You know what I'm saying? Because that leaves more room in the media market for
100%.
guys like you and me. Like people in this business. So people understand. Traditionally, it's all really about inventory. Who has it is the one who sells it. You got to find the guy if you want this timepiece over here, which I've never seen before. You know what I'm saying?
That's a carousel dial with a baguette bezel.
Yeah.
It's a pretty rare watch. They
Yeah.
make that with a pink dial, but also with regular diamond bezel. The one with the baguette's pretty
It's
rare.
not about who has the most followers, it's who has the most fucking capital to put in and put these watches. And which you're doing both, which is the way to do it. That's why you're a real businessman. That's really what this is about.
Difficult to say. Sometimes I wake up and I wish I had no inventory, right? Because with large amounts of inventory, you end up with aging inventory. You end up with inventory that goes out of style.
Right.
I don't have to tell you, you manufacture thousands of pieces, and I'm
Right.
sure you get leftover with shit. But
Right.
in your case, you have the options to melt shit,
Right.
take it apart, make something else. I can't exactly melt a richer mule. You know what I
Right.
mean? So.
But you could cash it in, below the market price.
Yeah.
If you gained everywhere else and you take a loss.
Oh, and I'm not afraid to
of
do
it,
that.
you're
I
good.
move inventory out when I need to. If there's a need to dump some things, jewelry and watches included.
And this is all. If you need to, will they find deals on luxurybazaar.com where you say, you know what, lower the price of this. We got too many.
I think most of the time the dumping is on a wholesale. And remember, up until about 2 years ago, we were 85% wholesale, right? I sold to other dealers all the time, and a little bit was retail. And we did wholesale for a long, long, long time until I finally made the decision that, you know what, I've had enough of that. Too many headaches, I don't have to tell you.
Right.
People own you money, debt inventory, bad debt expense, all those things come into play. And I said I'd rather sell less and make a little bit more, but sell retail. That way I don't have to hold such a huge inventory.
So wholesale, you were selling more, is what you're saying?
85%.
Right.
Sometimes even more.
You like the wholesale business initially, because I never liked the wholesale business. Everyone's always trying to twist your arm, and you got to be really good at saying no to people. Right? You got to have a hard line. You seem like a nice guy. You seem like
I had a hard time with that.
Yeah.
And that's what resulted in bad debt expense. That's what resulted in people not paying. That's what resulted in debt inventory. When you're doing, me and you are doing business to the tune of, if you're buying $1 million a month from me, I come to your shop and you tell me, you know what, Roman, thank you for this, thank you, this is great. You're paying on time.
More.
But now you tell me, oh, Roman, I have this $100,000 worth of stuff. Would you mind buying that from me? Because I kind of get it. I'm not gonna say no to you, but guess what? That $100,000 worth of stuff is now sitting in my safe, and over the years it accumulates into millions.
Right.
So, debt inventory, as we call it, or aged inventory, is a big part of a wholesale business, alongside with huge, obviously, receivables. Listen, I had guys die in a plane crash on me, owing me money. I'm not gonna go up after their wife or their kids.
Right.
You had guys that's just gone bad. How many guys go bad in our business? I shouldn't tell you. I mean, it happens every other day where you are.
Yeah.
So that's what's part of the decision. The only positive side to wholesale is the tremendous amount of revenue that we did. We became a $100 million company a year because of wholesale. And now I'm trying to scale back wholesale and scale up retail. And luckily, with today's market, I managed to do so without really losing revenue numbers, which is great.
Well, before we continue, you had with the stories you're telling me, because I've had some dark days when you're dealing with big products. Package was delivered, nothing in the box, this, that. I'm sure you had, how do you deal with those? And if you want to share some of those.
Oh, I have no problem. I'm a very transparent guy. So, the package not being delivered, getting a brick in a box and all those things. Technology, right? So there are over 68 cameras in my office. Every square inch of this office is covered with camera. Of course, now we're in the studio, we got 15 cameras on us, but that's a different kind of camera.
That's right.
But security cameras are everywhere. I can literally trace the product. For receiving, the biggest thing is that everything is recorded, right? So this Richard meal comes in. As he's unboxing the box that's packaged, he does it under a camera, opens it all up, pulls it out, shows it to the camera, this is what I got. Not only that, this is the paper. Cut that part out. This is the papers, this is, all the package, this is everything that it came with, and I can get a snapshot of that.
Right.
When I go to ship stuff out, it's the same thing. As it gets packaged under a camera, and I can trace it all the way out to the FedEx truck.
For all the entrepreneurs watching, when I started my business, eBay was wide open. There was plenty of opportunities there, but I had a lot of doubts in myself if I could actually do the business. That held me back a hell of a lot. You know what I'm saying? Did you feel so? It did hold you back. And you tell me that story, you know, in the beginning, because when I was selling jewelry, people thought jewelry on the internet, you know, and I believed them in a way.
Same.
Big mistake, right?
You know, this business, if it wasn't for my wife, this business may not have been here, because when the idea first came about, I said, who the hell's going to buy $10,000 watches on eBay? And it was my wife that said, you know what, I think it's a good idea. And she pushed me towards it, and the rest, as I say, is history. I also didn't have a lot of belief in this, because I was doubting the simple fact that, hey, now I'm dealing with expensive things, I'm taking on a liability, and who's going to buy this stuff?
So that's what I want to communicate to any young entrepreneur watching this. You know, got two people that started with scraps and put something together. And, you know, belief and is a big part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because then you act different when you believe something,
Of
right?
course.
You have to act on what you believe. If you wake up and you doubt, you're going to conduct business in a doubtful way. And that's just something that I like to communicate, because most people watch my channel, they want to get a piece of information that could help them on their journey. It's not all belief, you know. You don't sit there and you don't wear a magic wand and hope that the watches fall out, pie falls from the sky. But when you have that drive, you got to have that belief to activate it. That's one piece of it.
Believe is a big part of it, and staying positive, not letting anything knock you down, and stuff will knock you down along the way, and 10 times over. It's, you know, jumping back up and getting right back into it, and not letting the past affect the future. 17
years later, 20 years later, it's a lot easier to believe now that you have all of the business experience. But in the beginning, it's very, very tough. But the funnest years of the business, for me, every year is funner than the last, because you get to build a better team. You feel that's the same case?
For me, as years go by, one of the things I was always afraid of is to fall into a monotony of whatever it is I'm doing, right? For the stuff to become not exciting. Luckily, in our industry, we have things like trends that are always changing, and keeping up with those trends is always fun. Lucky for us, we're still growing our businesses. You know, they say, you know, the business business can make $100 million a year, but if it's flattened out and it's flat, that means it's dying, right? So we're always trying to reinvent things and innovate ourselves and things of that nature, and that's what makes the business exciting. So I'm happy to say that, you know what, I'm still happy to come to work every single day of my life, therefore I'm not working.
But are you happier with the business? Because you are not sitting still. You're developing everything. You're collecting artifacts from around the world. You're hiring the right people, you're training the right people, you're giving the opportunities, you're collecting the right inventory, and you know, the sky's the limit in a business like this when it comes to inventory alone. So as the years go on, you get to snowball. And obviously, the more that you go down the road, the snowball, the more fun, the larger it is. Are you enjoying that aspect of it?
I am enjoying the ride. I'm fully and completely enjoying the ride.
Right.
Do I have bad days? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you don't enjoy what you do, there's no point of doing it. So
I bet the first year of business you didn't have the XOs and the Louis the 13ths over your shoulder
No.
to take a sip when you were.
I was working out of my basement with a budget of $12,000. So
Right.
it was a little different.
So that's really what that is. You want to soak up that mentality and build a business for yourself. You know, the other thing that I want to communicate to the people that might be watching this, the serious people, that there's opportunities present themselves. And, you know, there's two aspects of it. You got the drive. If the e-commerce opportunity didn't present itself, I'm sure you would have found something else or some other industry, real estate, whatever it is, to build a little empire or so on and so
It's funny.
forth.
It's, as you said, as you start doing it and you begin to build that confidence, and the confidence builds more and more and more. Today, I can comfortably say that it doesn't matter if I go and start selling baseball hats. I'll be successful in what I do. But that's easy, like you said, easy to say 20 years later when you've done what you've done. But every single one of you young entrepreneurs that want to get into something, I give everybody the same exact advice. Don't talk about it. Get out there and do it.
Right.
Dream big, but take small steps to get there. You know who said that?
Who?
Me. But anyway, but this is the motto to live by, because a lot of guys talking about the hustle. They look at motivational quotes on Instagram. You
Right.
like want 1,000 more pop up.
They're delusional.
Until you get off your ass and actually go and try and do something right, and actually fail a couple of times, right? That's when you're going to actually get something done. The one thing you need to get $1 million is $1. Right? And it's the same thing. You're not going to have $1 million until you make that first dollar.
Right.
So you get out there, you make your first dollar, and every time you make your first dollar, it's going to motivate you to make two. Just get out there, talk about it less, plan ahead, dream big.
And I'll add to that, you know what I'm saying? The thing that people do is they feed themselves dopamine in their own mind by thinking the things they're going to have, and You know, like I had a friend who was a real fool back in the day when in high school, and after he graduated high school, he was thinking about opening up a strip club, and on Wednesday it was going to be jungle night, and on Friday it was going to be cyberpunk night. I'm like, listen, brother, you didn't take the first step of accounting, incorporating, finding a space, and you're sitting there feeding yourself dopamine of how the strippers are up and down the pole in different outfits. Don't do that aspect. Leave that aspect for last. Leave the aspect of what artifacts you're going to collect in your office 17, 19 years later for later. First, you got to figure out the dollars and cents and how to service the customer to make sure that they're happy. One last question on that end. How did you do? What did you offer to the marketplace that you were able to take a piece of the market share in the beginning? Were you just able to get the product out there where it was unavailable on eBay? Or did you provide a service? Were they able to call you? What was really the kicker that got the ball rolling?
Outside of getting started in the hustle, I am a firm believer that, you have to have a little bit of luck as well in every business. And I consider myself lucky, and I've had that little bit of luck in many instances throughout the 20 years. I was lucky enough to run into a client that taught me one simple thing, and he told me, and it stuck to me till this day. This was literally me in my basement 6 months into this. Guy calls me up and he says, Roman, the one thing you have to understand about sales, and this is a guy that was a marketing genius of his time. He did this huge seminars with thousands of people showing up, put out CDs, like they used to sell like 6 set CDs, but if you kids know what that is even, you know what CDs are? All right, I'm glad to hear. So with that said, he said, Roman, you have to educate your consumer to an extent where that consumer would feel stupid buying anywhere else, regardless of price, within reason. Right. And that stuck with me right away. So the very first thing I've ever done, I took every opportunity to get on the phone or email, any type of communication with my consumer, and rather than sell him a watch, my job was to educate him. And mind you, at a time where half the time I didn't know what the hell I was talking about yet because I was so green. I remember these awkward things that I've told some of my clients. They probably laughed on the inside, but guess what? It was educating your consumer was the #1 service that I've provided, which made me stand out from the next guy. I wasn't going in for the sell, buy this, I'll give you a better deal, like the shit they're doing 47th and stuff like, oh yeah, take this, I'll give you this. No, it was always about education, education, education. And when I've done that, till this day, I got clients calling me on my cell phone, because all my client lists used to be in here, and I pick up the phone and say, hey, John, George, whoever your name is, and they're surprised 10 years later I remember their name. I'm like, no, you're still in my phone, because you're from my basement days. Right. So education.
Basement days. You hold on to the basement people.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I do the same thing. Well, listen, fantastic. It's luxurybazaar.com for a myriad of different types of timepieces. You curate the collection yourself of what's on there?
No, due to the simple fact that, good inventory in general when it comes to the watch business changes all the time. It's very tough to curate. Yes, there's certain pieces. Yes, I'm always going to have Submariners and GMTs and all those things in stock that are hot, but sometimes I don't, because it's just you fly out the window. My jewelry business formula is very much different from yours. I'm in a closeout business, so I go out and I buy deals. So tomorrow you over manufacture 5,000 pieces of something and say, you know what, Roman, I want to dump this off, I'll buy it, right? Branded jewelry is another big deal, so I buy a lot of branded jewelry.
So you got Swarovski on there.
From Swarovski all the way out to $100,000.
I gotta be honest, the jewelry they're gonna have to buy from me. The Swarovski, this is my fans. I'm sorry if you guys don't mind buying the jewelry from me. Swarovski, Rolexes, I'll give you, and the other watch brands. You got Nixon, you got a bunch of things. Right?
Again, anything from a $50 watch to a $1 million watch, and anything from a $5 piece of Swarovski jewelry to a $100,000 Cartier necklace. Right. I'm diversified price-wise, brand-wise, and style-wise.
Luxurybazaar.com, and we got the Gray Market YouTube show.
Which, by the way, next episode.
I'm back
your boy is on, again.
I weaseled my way into another episode.
No, you didn't. I stopped by his office and put him on camera, actually. I caught him in the middle of him taping his bid. And I was here, put my microphone on. Let's switch it up a little bit.
So you see how that's another aspect of it. Having that the right attitude, and you know what I'm saying, having that good heart is another aspect of business, because nobody wants to spend $1 million with an asshole, right?
Never.
They really don't. So that's another aspect of it. But hope you learned something. Watch his show. Shop luxurybazaar.com. Not that he needs extra sales, but if you're looking for timepieces, $50 to $1 million, you know where to go.